Good morning, I'm Kathy Shiflet. This is Dennis Hitchcock, and this is the real Sarah Ford. So we are going for the diversity grant proposal on the $5,000 level.
So the problem is, in April, we sat through an economic update from Lawrence Young, the Chief Economist and Senior Vice President of Research for the National Association of Realtors. And we saw a stat that frankly made us sick to our stomach. During the presentation, it was brought to our attention that 63% of white high school dropouts own homes, while only 57% of college-educated African Americans own homes. And we thought that number just was really low and disappointing for where we are in today's society. So we decided to dig a little deeper.
So this map, according to the Urban Institute, in an article, The Urban Wire House and Housing Finance from 2016, as you can see, in the state of Ohio, the gaps range from 30 to 41% based in 2018. If you approve our grant today, we can begin on working on narrowing those percentages and increase the African American home ownership.
So the history. In the 1900s, the 48.1% of homeowners were Caucasian, and while only 20.5% of African Americans owned homes, leaving a 27.6% gap. Fast forward to 2016, I don't know why our numbers aren't showing up, but fast forward to 2016, 71.3% of homeowners are Caucasian, while only 41% are African American. That's an increased gap to 30.3%. So we've actually gotten worse with our stats since 1900, which is, in my opinion, just unacceptable. So historically, what caused the divide? So I'm sure you're aware of the discrimination in our country's history, but we'd like to briefly touch on how it affected this statistic. For years, cities banned Caucasians from selling to African Americans in certain neighborhoods using racial zoning ordinances. In 1917, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down these ordinances. This caused racial covenants to take off, which were essentially private agreements doing the same thing. Then, in the midst of the Great Depression, two agencies that were created to stabilize the country's devastated housing market actually adopted racist practices that kept African Americans from participating in the housing boom that rocketed white homeownership from 46% in 1940 to 65% in 1960. The Federal Housing Administration played a major role in keeping minorities out of certain housings. First, they practiced minority loan restrictions. The FHA recommended restrictive covenants that barred minorities from receiving federally backed home loans. Secondly, the agency subsidized lending for development of suburbs with the stipulation that the homes be only sold to Caucasians. The FHA believed property values would decline if African Americans moved into a community, even though there was no evidence to support that. In fact, this is a direct quote, in fact, the opposite. Property values increased because of the reduced supply of homes available to African Americans. They were willing to pay more, according to Richard Rothstein, author of The Color of Law. And lastly, the FHA discouraged lending in predominantly African American neighborhoods, also known as redlining, which was based on evaluations from the Homeowners Loan Corporation, another agency formed during the Great Depression to stabilize the housing market. The Homeowners Loan Corporation was tasked with assessing the risk of lending in neighborhoods across the country, and it coded communities that were primarily African American red for high risk. So, and then lastly, we have modern day influencers. So, according to an article published in May of 2018, African Americans are turned down for mortgages at twice the rates of Caucasians. A recent analysis from Zillow shows that in 2016, nearly 21% of African American applicants were denied a conventional loan, those rates are down from 2007, when African American applicants were turned down 34.3% of the time. In a paper written in 2016 by Patrick Bayer, Fernando Furiari, and Stephen Ross for the National Bureau of Economic Research, this is a little bit, but African American home buyers are 105% more likely to have a high cost mortgage for home purchases. Due to these issues, many African Americans lack the confidence to even consider applying for a loan. With your support of our grant proposal, it is our goal to educate African Americans to increase homeownership through increased financial literacy.
Our budget, we are asking for a $5,000 grant. The contribution from our local association would be $500, and the contribution from non-realtor collaboration partners, we're looking for lenders to help create this program. And as you can see, the rental, that's going to be about $1,000 because we're going to try to use churches, schools. Probably not going to be that high, but we just put it in there in case we wanted to rent something down in a downtown location. The catering and refreshments, marketing about $3,000, printing about $500, and so there the total expenditures end up to be about zero. I mean, if you budget balances up.
So what will we do? We will educate, encourage, and eliminate. Our Financial 101, which will help people learn the detail of how credit debt management is crucial, and that the knowledge is important to enable them to financially be responsible to make decisions, and with the effect of their daily lives and their financial futures. There it is. Second, credit and using money to build wealth. This session will look deeper into how to build credit, coupled with debt-fighting strategies. Third, homeowners as investors in your future, which is where we will explain how purchasing a home is about making a long-term investment and how that course of action can lead to future wealth. We will use community partners such as schools, libraries, community centers, mortgage bankers, and fair housing agencies. By using data, ideas, and relationships in our community, we can further develop an action plan, seek joint funding opportunities, and build coalitions to address the focus of the needs presented in this presentation, particularly those with agencies where related concerns are echoed in their work. So why us? Why not us? We're realtors. We're in the housing industry. We have the determination, community connections, the vision, and the passion needed to make this work. We respectfully request that our grant be selected due to our ability to demonstrate that we will be successful and we can make a difference. If not us, then who? Thank you.